old who can barely talk, and they have him run against me in the Republican primary. And we didn't say one lawn sign of this guy, Dave, one bumper sticker, no volunteer organization, nothing. Election night comes, September 1. I win in Franklin County, all paper ballots hand counted, Dave.
Right.
White working class community. Every other county, 60-40, 60-40, 60-40, 60-40. Don't take this the wrong way. Here's a pasty-faced white guy who wins in Lawrence, all Hispanic, 60-40. Same phenomenon in a black community and same phenomenon in white communities. He was nowhere to be found. And the night before the election, the weeks before, people were saying, Shiva, landslide, referring to us. That's when I woke up to election fraud. I never thought it took place in this country, Dave. I thought that was third world countries, And what we discovered by September 9th was these voting systems have a feature in them called a weighted race algorithm, okay? What that means is if you and I are running for office, you sit in your bar, get drunk all day, don't campaign, and I'm out there busting my ass, and you get 500 votes and I get 2,000 votes, guess what they can do, Dave? They can multiply your votes by, let's say, 4. So you end up getting 2,000 votes. And then they take my 2,000 and multiply it by half. So I end up getting 1,000 votes, okay? So net of 3,000 votes. The original actual votes were 2,500, which means you have 500 more votes than voters. What we noticed was we went to various precincts across Massachusetts, towns, and we said, can you give me the list of people who actually voted and the actual ballots cast? Boston, 4,114 more votes than voters, okay? 1,780 more votes than voters in Newton, and so on.
Wow.
That is a feature, not of paper ballots, and even if you got mail-in ballots all done, the electronic voting systems is where the real crime scene is. That's where the real crime scene is. And I was the first one to really bring this out. You saw it in my Arizona testimony, in Michigan, et cetera. The GOP establishment is making money off election fraud right now. They're talking about mail-in ballots, mail-in ballots, mail-in ballots, which is what the Democrats used to do with voter suppression. Voter suppression, you're hurting blacks. You see, both parties use election fraud, the fake version, not to go to the real issue, which is the computer algorithms, because both parties have been using that. And so when I started exposing this on September 1, when the primary was stolen from us, I put out a tweet. I said, election fraud took place in third world Massachusetts. And I'm glad we have the Second Amendment. And between September 1 to September 25th, I was exposing what we were discovering, that when you go to the electronic voting machines and you put in the paper ballot, Dave, like you just said,
right.
Guess what it does? That machine scans it and it makes an image. You got it?
Yes.
A ballot image is made. It's generated. That ballot image is what is counted. So what's the ballot? It's a ballot image. The paper is stuck over here. And when the ballot image is created, it creates what's called a CVR record, cast vote record, and a series of cast vote records determines what's called the list vote record, okay? So on September 9th, I said to the Secretary of State of Massachusetts, I want the ballot images because I'm a federal candidate. By federal law, they are supposed to retain those for 22 months. They said, oh, we delete them. We turned that feature off, Dave, okay? I started tweeting that out. On September 25th, in an exchange with the Secretary of State of Massachusetts, she says, yeah, we delete them. We don't have to save them. I say, you're violating federal law. I said, this election should be nullified. That email conversation I tweeted out on September 25th, 26th. Within 11 hours, Dave, I am banned off Twitter for 21 days. And we had, at that point, moved our campaign to a write-in campaign. We were putting out, 1.5 million of these cards, Dave, all over Mass. That's a volunteer force we had. So they banned me off Twitter, never been banned before. I mean, I said a lot of crazy things. Mm-hmm. But what we discovered, Dave, was I sued the Secretary of State and I asked for a temporary restraining order that they would. What we found out was the Secretary of State, Dave, had contacted Twitter. Not Twitter did this on their own. The state contacted Twitter on a political candidate.
Holy.
So no lawyer wanted to take on the government. I had to do this myself, Dave. I had to learn the law. I had to learn case law. So it was me against 3 lawyers in federal court. And we filed the restraining order and the lawsuit. And I won, Dave. No media covered this.
No.
What we have in Massachusetts is the landmark lawsuit. It's two lawsuits. So this lawsuit was the judge ripped the other side, and he said, if you didn't like Dr. Shiva's discussion about exposing your ballot images, that you destroyed them, because what we did, the reason that tweet was important was I showed that they're violating federal law, Dave.
Right.
Not,
Right.
So they had to shut me down. And the judge asked him, why didn't you simply go on Twitter? Well, it turned out in the testimony, that the Secretary of State of Massachusetts contacted Twitter. Why? Because they have a Twitter partnership, Dave.
Wait,
They're not because
they have a partnership with Twitter?
Yes. The secretary gets